Hey there, everyone. I just wanted to take a few minutes here and kind of talk through the assignment invitation that I mentioned the last time that we were together, but did not have a chance to kind of work through. So, first of all, I'm going to share and kind of talk through just the template, and then I'm going to walk through an example that I crafted. So, if you take a look here at the template, you're going to see that we're going to start with those standards, and I think just the process of me as a teacher going through and just writing this template is really helpful for me just to make sure that I'm focusing on the things that I actually think are the most important. So focusing on those skills through the standards is really important. Then we move to the scenario or context. And in that scenario or context, I a lot of times use this to broaden the scenario for kids or to broaden the context. And so I might say you are in this kind of a situation, or your character is in this kind of a situation, or you're being asked to write about this or speak about that. And that really helps to create more of an intrinsic purpose rather than just do this assignment. So sometimes little tweaks like that can definitely help. Then we're going to go to the purpose of the assignment. And for me, the purpose of the assignment is pretty tightly connected to those standards, but I still am writing it to my students or to my learners. And so I want to make sure to still think about the language that I would use when I'm just talking to them. So the audience can also kind of function in the same way that that scenario or context functions. And oftentimes, if we're going to use those two together, we want to see them kind of tightly aligned. And so what I love about including another audience is that it changes my role, right? So even though I am the person who's still going to ultimately do the grading, students aren't writing this for me, right? They're writing it really to this larger audience. And then in the focus part of this invitation, I really want to include some of the ways that students can focus on the thinking, right? So what's kind of the cognitive work that I want them to do? It might be some big questions that I want them to answer. It might be like some bullet points of some things I really want them to look at. But the focus is really on, again, the thinking. And again, that's going to be pretty tightly connected to those standards. Then the details are when you might include some more of the logistics. So if you have some must-haves, this would be the place to put them: citations, length. Sometimes I just use this detail section to also kind of describe more concretely some of the work that I want them to do. And then for resources, just if they need to have a citation, this is a good place to put it. If you have any other resources that you've created, this is a good place to note that for them. So I'm going to go ahead and describe now the one that I came up with. It's just called Finding Voice. And I started with these two power standards that you all noted. The analyzing complex characters, and then using that strong and thorough textual evidence. So the context is that there's a student council meeting, and each student has been asked essentially to come to that student council meeting and share their expertise on what it means to find a voice. And so kind of with that in mind, it gives, I think, as a writer, it gives the writer a real audience to think about, some faces to really see. And so whether it's student council or something else, that again, it's just the idea of that context. So the purpose of this assignment is to help students look at how their character changes over time through specific moments in the text and then articulate that. So that connects right back to those standards. We could probably highlight some of those overlapping words. Audience is again going to be really close to that context. So it's the student council, right? The audience is not me as the teacher. The student council is a group of students who are trying to understand how to help young people find their voices. And this assignment is calling for experts, and these students are now experts in this. So then thinking at the level of focus, I'm giving some more specifics here to try to help students really hone in on this. I'm asking them to find 3 specific examples when the character first found his or her voice, when that voice was most effectively used, and then a time when they should have but didn't use the voice. And so then they're going to collect those examples. And then I kind of have the writing prompt. So what I ultimately want students to do is to develop a set of notes and comments. So if they were actually going to go to a student council meeting, if I was actually going to a meeting like that, I would prep with notes, very specific examples, bullet points, and then some prepared comments, right? So maybe a couple of paragraphs of prepared comments. And that's really what I'm asking, the students to do. So within that, though, certainly how the character found his or her voice, how it changed him or her, and then some details about how the student council could support students in finding their voices. And so here in details, just some more information about like when they write their notes for the assignment, those can be in bullet points, but the comments should be written in paragraph form. They should be analyzing, not just summarizing. Draft is due on such and such a date, that kind of thing. So those details also could vary based on how you would see an assignment, a specific assignment. And then resources include an ML works cited citation at the end of their work. And then I also would create a planning document to really help them. And that would kind of lay out for them how to find those 3 examples, and then maybe some questions to really get them thinking about those examples. So I would probably also have a visual to go with this to walk them through it. And I would also I would say that this is pretty long. There's a lot of words on here. And so just thinking about, one of the questions I even have for myself is this too long, right? Is it too much? But on the other hand, I also know that if I really want to create that context, that's important for the kids. So I also am going to add here that I took this out, but these were some of the questions that I would have asked, like in that focus section that I would put in that other guide to help students figure out how to choose moments, because they might not even really know how to choose those moments. So I might want to give them a series of questions to help them find those. So here are some of those questions. When did someone or something change because of my character's voice? When was there a big change in the character? When does the character underestimate him or herself? What are the unforgettable moments? When did you as a reader feel inspired? So those are the kind of questions that might even help kids find those examples. So once again, I also am including this as an example because I think it's important to know that we can have students dig into the text that they're already reading in a variety of ways, right? And I would probably think that this obviously is going to come towards the end of the unit instead of the beginning. All right.